Have you ever felt like you're living in a world that doesn't quite fit? Like the rules and expectations handed down to us from generations past are holding us back from truly understanding ourselves and each other? Well, you're not alone. In fact, you might be onto something profound about the nature of human consciousness and society. I'm Mark Roach. Welcome to Transcendent, my channel about a perspective formed from a journey around the world through life, crossing the wide spectrum of human experience from high to low, as most people in American society would define them. This channel is all about inspiring common people to find their power and place their uniqueness in their own lives. Our brains are incredible organs capable of processing vast amounts of information and constructing our perception of reality. But in recent research in psychology and neuroscience, they've revealed something fascinating. Our perception of reality isn't as objective as we might think. Instead, it's a complex interplay between the sensory information that we receive and the predictions our brains make based on past experiences and expectations. Imagine you're walking down a busy street. Your eyes are taking in countless details. Your ears are picking up a bunch of sounds, and your skin is registering changes in temperature and air movement. But your conscious experience isn't just a raw dump of all this sensory data. Instead, your brain is actively constructing your perception, filling in the gaps, and making predictions about what you're likely to encounter next. This process is known as predictive coding. It allows us to navigate our complex world efficiently. It's why we can recognize a friend's face in a crowd, or understanding speech in a noisy environment, or maybe even how you recognize a teammate is coming up from behind of you so you can pass them the ball on the court. But it also means that our perception of reality is, to some extent, a construction based on our prior experiences and expectations. Studies using functional magnetic resonance imaging, or fMRI, have given us fascinating insights into this process. Researchers have found that our brains generate predictions about sensory inputs before they even arrive. These predictions can sometimes override actual sensory information, as demonstrated by visual illusions that trick our brains into seeing things that aren't really there. But here's where it really gets interesting. This constructive nature of our perception doesn't just apply to our moment-to-moment experiences. It also shapes our understanding of more abstract concepts like our self, like our identity, our relationship with others, and our place in society. Think about it. Well, maybe just feel about it and tap into your inner knowing. The way that we perceive ourselves and others isn't just based on objective facts. It's influenced by our cultural background, our personal experiences, and the expectations that formed us, that are placed on us by society. And just like our brains fill in these gaps in sensory information, we also fill in gaps in our understanding of the world with assumptions and beliefs that we've picked up along the way. This brings us to a crucial point. The language and concepts that we use to describe our experiences and relationships often lag behind our evolving understanding of human nature. It lags behind, or the laws and construct of the fabric of many of our interactions in the world today are built on rules and context that have been around for 2 or 3 generations, slowly evolving. The words and ideas that served our ancestors well maybe 2,000 years ago and happened to define a lot of masculine and feminine roles that are really coming into conflict today in our modern day society, they may not be adequate to describe the complexity of our actual modern, realistic human experience today. Consider how we talk about gender and sexuality, for example. Traditional binary concepts of male and female, straight and gay, don't capture the full spectrum of human identity and experience that we now recognize. These outdated categories persist nonetheless in our language, in our books, in our education systems, and in our government, in our social norms. And they're creating tension and conflict between those who are adhering to those traditional views and those who are embracing actually the raw input and the more fluid understandings of identity. And this tension isn't just a matter of semantics. It has real consequences for how we treat each other and how we organize in society. When our language and social norms don't keep pace with our evolving understanding of human nature, the feelings that we've been denying or suppressing, that suppression leads to discrimination, misunderstanding, and a lot of unnecessary suffering. Those old norms are no longer necessary for survival and need to be let go. So the exciting part is we come to a more aware period of how our brains actually construct our perception of reality. We do have the opportunity to consciously reshape our understanding of ourselves and each other, to get away from this force of trying to form fit human beings into molds that were created centuries ago so we can feel comfortable in these old ways. We can challenge our assumptions, question our biases, and open ourselves up to new ways of thinking and being. This isn't always easy. Our brains are wired to seek certainty and stability. It's a survival mechanism that served our ancestors well in a world full of physical dangers. And there were also minorities, and the group wanted to grow. And so maybe the emphasis on male and female sexuality falling into some traditional pattern was really for the best for those small groups to be able to multiply and survive. But now with 8 billion people on the planet and this overpopulation and taxing our Earth's resources more than maybe it can withstand, maybe we need to rethink that. So in our complex modern society, this same mechanism can lead us to cling to these outdated ideas and resist change, even when presented with new evidence. That's why it's so important to cultivate qualities like curiosity, empathy, and open-mindedness. These traits allow us to navigate the uncertainty of a rapidly changing world and connect with others who may have very different experiences and perspectives from our own bubble and limited view in many cases of the entire spectrum of those views that human beings are experiencing on this planet today. So consider how this applies to our understanding of spirituality and civic engagement, morality and ethics. Traditional religious participation may have been declining in many parts of the world, but research is showing that spirituality continues to play a crucial role in shaping individuals' involvement in their communities and broader society. A groundbreaking national survey by the Fetzer Institute revealed that spirituality is not only widespread, but a significant factor in civic engagement. This challenges the traditional view that organized religion is the primary driver of civic participation and philanthropic action. The research distinguishes between two types of influences that spirituality has on civic engagement. There's discursive influence, which refers to the explicit ways individuals perceive spirituality as motivating their civic actions. And then there's practical influence, which encompasses the measurable impact of spirituality on civic engagement as observed through analytical models. Both forms of influence were found to be significant, suggesting that spirituality operates on multiple levels to shape individuals' involvement in their communities. This highlights the need for a more nuanced understanding of how spirituality functions in our lives and in societies. Interesting, the research found that specific spiritual practices such as yoga and small group participation had independent effects on philanthropic behavior. In some cases, these practices showed stronger associations with giving and volunteering than traditional measures of religious behavior, like worship and attendance, rigid adherence to patterns that are falling away. This opens up exciting possibilities for fostering civic engagement and social cohesion in our increasingly diverse societies. By recognizing and nurturing the spiritual dimensions of human experience, we may be able to create more inclusive and effective approaches to community building and social change. But it also raises important questions. How do we define and measure spirituality in a diverse, pluralistic society? How can we ensure that efforts to promote spirituality and civic engagement are inclusive and respectful of all belief systems? What are the potential drawbacks or limitations of relying on spirituality as a driver of civic engagement? These are complex questions without easy answers, but grappling with them is crucial if we want to create societies that adapt to our evolving understanding of human nature and experience. So let's return to the idea of how our brains construct our perception of reality. This understanding has profound implications for how we approach issues of identity, relationships, and social norms. If our perception of reality is largely constructed based on our prior experiences and expectations, then it follows that our sense of self and our understanding of others is also, to some extent, a construction. That doesn't mean our identities aren't real or meaningful, but maybe you need to look into what's actually happening in the moment before you allow all that constructed stuff to affect how you're judging or refusing to accept what's actually happening in the moment. You might be missing something. So this does suggest that there are more fluid and context-dependent realities than we're often assuming or limiting ourselves in. This perspective aligns with the findings of researchers studying the neurobiology of social influence. A recent study published in the Journal of Neuroscience and Biobehavioral Reviews explored the role of the serotonin system in social adaptation. The researchers found that various computational neurobiological and neurochemical processes are involved in distinct mechanisms underlying social adaptation. This includes the multisensory process of social information integration that is crucial for forming self-representation and representations of social norms. In other words, our sense of self and our understanding of social norms aren't fixed or innate. shocking. We all would felt so comfortable when we felt like there was one truth or one set of laws that we could rely on. And we're finding that we have to rely on ourselves, ourself and ourselves more and more. These are constantly being reshaped and shaped through our interactions with others and our environment. This is how important implications for how we think about human development and social change really is. It suggests that we may have more capacity for growth and adaptation than we often give ourselves credit for. But it also highlights the importance of social and cultural contexts in which we develop. Consider how this applies to early childhood development. Research in developmental psychology has long recognized the profound impact that early experiences can have, that those early experiences can have profound impact on later behavior and our worldview. Attachment theory, for example, suggests that our early relationships form templates for future interactions. But the constructive nature of perception adds another layer to this understanding. It suggests that these early experiences don't just shape our behavior in a straightforward cause and effect manner. Instead, they influence the very way we perceive and interpret the world around us. This has profound implications for how we approach education, parenting, and social policy. If we want to create more just and inclusive societies, we need to pay attention not just to the explicit messages we're sending, but also the implicit assumptions and expectations that shape how people perceive themselves and others. It also highlights the importance of diversity and exposure to different perspectives. If our perception of reality is shaped by our prior experiences, then encountering diverse viewpoints and ways of being can literally expand our understanding of what's possible. This brings us back to the question of language and social norms. If our perception of reality is so heavily influenced by our prior experiences and expectations, then the language we use and the social norms we adhere to play a crucial role in shaping our collective reality. When our language and social norms don't keep pace with our evolving understanding of human nature, it can create a kind of cognitive dissonance. We may struggle to articulate or even recognize experiences that don't fit neatly into established categories. This is particularly evident in discussions around gender and sexuality. Traditional binary concepts often fail to capture the full spectrum of human experience. But because these concepts are so deeply ingrained in our language and social structures, people who don't fit neatly into these categories may struggle to understand and express their own experiences. People used to get killed for these things. This isn't just a matter of personal identity. It has real consequences for how we organize our societies and distribute resources as well as opportunities. When our language and social norms are based on outdated and overly simplistic understandings of human nature, it can lead to discrimination and exclusion. But here's the exciting part. As we become more aware of how our brains construct our perception of reality, we do have the opportunity to consciously reshape our collective understanding. We can challenge outdated assumptions, create new language to describe our experiences, and build more inclusive social structures. This is where the idea of human evolution comes in, not in a biological sense, but in terms of our collective consciousness and social organization. As we expand our understanding of human nature and experience, we have the opportunity to create societies that are more adaptable, more inclusive, and more aligned with the full spectrum of human potential. This isn't about rejecting all traditional values or social norms. Many of these have served important functions in human societies for thousands of years, but it is about being willing to examine these norms critically and update them when they no longer serve us, and to create new ways of understanding and organizing ourselves that better reflect our evolving knowledge and experience. It's also about recognizing that this process of evolution isn't always smooth or easy. Change can be uncomfortable, even frightening. When our fundamental assumptions about reality are challenged, it can feel like ground is shifting beneath our feet. This is why it's so important to understand these issues with compassion and understanding. People who cling to traditional views aren't necessarily closed-minded or resistant to change. They may be simply struggling to make sense of a rapidly changing world using the conceptual tools that they have inherited and passed on to maybe you or your children. At the same time, we need to create space for those who are pushing the boundaries of our collective understanding. The people who are pioneering new ways of thinking about identity, relationships, and social organization aren't just being rebellious or difficult. They're often at the forefront of human evolution, exploring new possibilities for how we can understand ourselves and relate to each other. This brings us back to the idea of spirituality and civic engagement. As our understanding of human nature evolves, so too does our understanding of spirituality. Many people are moving away from rigid, dogmatic forms of religion and roles in society towards more fluid, experiential forms of spirituality. This shift aligns with our evolving understanding of how the brain constructs reality. If our perception of reality is largely a construction based on our prior experiences and expectations, then spiritual practices that help us become more aware of this process, more in the moment, more in tune to what's happening in our bodies, and not only with ourselves, but empathetically with each other. And it's about becoming more aware of this process and becoming more intentional about noticing our perceptions. This can be an incredibly powerful tool for personal and social transformation. This isn't about replacing science with spirituality or vice versa. It's about recognizing that both scientific inquiry and spiritual practice can be valuable tools for expanding our understanding of ourselves and the world. As we move forward, the challenge is to create a society or societies that can hold space for this complexity. We need social structures and institutions that are flexible enough to adapt to our evolving understanding of human nature, while still providing the stability and continuity that humans need to thrive. This is no small task. It requires us to question deeply held assumptions, to be willing to sit with uncertainty, and to approach each other with curiosity and compassion. But the potential rewards are enormous. By expanding our understanding of human nature and experience, we open up new possibilities for personal growth, for social harmony, for collective evolution. And in the end, this journey of exploration and evolution is what it means to be human. We are creatures of habit, yes, but we are also beings of incredible adaptability and creativity. Our ability to question, to imagine, to reshape our understanding of reality is what has allowed us to create the complex societies that we live in today. And now, as we stand on the cusp of a new breakthrough in our understanding of the brain and human consciousness, we have the opportunity to take the next step in our collective evolution. By embracing the complexity of human experience, by creating more inclusive and adaptive social structures, And by nurturing our capacity for growth and transformation, we can create a world that more fully reflects the vast potential of human consciousness. This isn't about reaching some final, perfect state of understanding. It's about embracing the ongoing process of growth and evolution. It's about remaining open to new ideas and experiences while also honoring the wisdom of the past. Some of these are not new ideas. Think about Gurdjieff, Steiner, Ouspensky, Jesus, Buddha. It's about recognizing that each of us has a unique perspective to contribute to our collective understanding of what it means to be human. So as we move forward, let's approach these complex issues with curiosity, compassion, and a willingness to challenge our own assumptions. Humility. Let's create spaces where diverse perspectives can be shared and explored. And let's remember that our perception of reality is not fixed or absolute, but a dynamic, ongoing construction that we all participate in shaping. By doing so, we can create societies that are more adaptable, more inclusive, and more aligned with the full spectrum of human potential. Maybe even eliminate a little bit of the human suffering that's going on. We can foster a sense of connection and shared purpose that transcends traditional boundaries. And we can continue to evolve both as individuals and as a species towards greater understanding, compassion, and fulfillment. The journey won't always be easy. There will be challenges and setbacks along the way, believe me. But by embracing this process of growth and evolution, we open ourselves to new possibilities and new ways of being. We create the potential for a future that's richer, more diverse, and more deeply fulfilling than anything that we've experienced before. So let's embark on this journey together. Let's question, explore, and grow. Let's create a world that honors the full complexity of human experience and nurtures the vast potential within each one of us. The future is not set in stone. It's a reality we're constructing together, moment by moment. Through our perceptions, our actions, and our willingness to embrace change and growth. Here's a summary of the key points. One, our perception of reality is largely constructed by our brains based on limited sensory inputs and prior experiences. Two, the brain uses predictive coding to fill in gaps in sensory information and allows for efficient processing, but it can also lead to biases and errors. Three, traditional language and social norms often lag behind our evolving understanding of human nature, creating tension and conflict. Four, spirituality continues to play a significant role in civic engagement, even as traditional religious participation declines. Five, our sense of self and understanding of social norms are constantly shaped through our interactions with others and our environment. Six, early childhood experiences profoundly impact our later behavior and worldview by influencing how we perceive and interpret the world. Seven, diversity and exposure to different perspectives can expand our understanding of what's possible. Eight, as we become more aware of how our brains construct reality, we have the opportunity to consciously reshape our collective understanding. Nine, creating inclusive and adaptive social structures can nurture our capacity for growth and transformation. 10, embracing the ongoing process of growth and evolution allows us to create a world that's more fully reflective of the vast potential of human consciousness. I'm Mark Roach, wishing you all the best.